You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Shoe In Show. Thanks for dropping in this Monday morning and giving us a listen, or whenever you're listening to it. We used to say on the way into work, please listen to it. And I don't know where you're at today. Maybe you're walking your dog. Maybe you're taking your kid to school. Maybe you are going into work. God bless you. But wherever you are, thank you for joining us today and taking a little bit of time out of your day to listen. This is the Industries Podcast, where we talk to folks across the industry, different organizations, different companies, retailers, brands, about what's happening in our marketplace, what's happening to our companies, but also opportunities where companies can give back and get involved, as well as footwear consumers increasingly who want to do good in their communities. And there's increasingly ways, Sandy, through doing that with sneakers. And I know we have some people may not know this. I think everybody does, but there's a huge, vibrant sneaker community in America. Would you be shocked to know of a lot of folks out there who collect, who just love sneakers in a variety of ways, talk about it all the time. And there's opportunities for those folks out there to make a real difference in a dynamic way. So, Sandy, as we kind of tee up today, I know you and I always talk about shoe stories, right? You've got an amazing dynamic shoe story from your family and growing up in it. And I know, our guests today too have very dynamic shoe stories that we want to hear from them too.
That's right. We are really excited to have a couple special guests on today. They are in fact collectors of sneakers, as a matter of fact, and shoes. So I just want to just point out the fact that they are also collectors, and I'll let them tell their shoe story in just a minute. I'd like to introduce John and Moe to our Shoe In podcast today. Why don't you come on, John, and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your shoe story and how you entered the footwear market, and then we'll go to Moe.
Sure. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Andy, for having us. We really appreciate it. My career goes back into the 1980s when I started in the industry. I started my career working for Nordstrom. I was a shoe buyer out in California, a men's shoe buyer. This was back in the day when we had buyers in every store at that time. The company was growing rapidly. It was a great time to be an employee of Nordstrom. Learned a ton during that 6 years that I spent there as a men's shoe buyer. And then I pivoted to the wholesale side of the business. And I went to work for a large corporation, which today is Wolverine Worldwide. At that time was the Stride Rite Corporation. And I spent 20 years working my way through and into different positions on the kids group, the children's side of things, working on the Stride Rite brand, of course, and a lot of other kids brands there. And then after 20 years, I left there as VP of sales, and I moved over to the Naturalizer brand, working for Brown Shoe Company, which is now, of course, Caleres. And I spent a couple of years there as the VP of sales for the Naturalizer brand. And then I had an opportunity to move to New York, which is where I'm at now. And I went to work for a company called the SAC Brand Group. And they were starting a footwear division, very great brand on the handbag side and accessories, 3 different brands. And I was brought over to help them really put together the footwear division and launch 3 different brands to the market on the footwear side. And then after doing that, I went to Vita Shoes International. Vita has a lot of different brands, been in the industry nearly 50 years now, great company. And I was in the kids division there for 7 years. And fortunately, the last 3 years, we were able to acquire the Stride Rite brand, and we got to work on the Stride Rite brand as we licensed it from Wolverine. And I got to head that up for the last 3 years that I was there. And then COVID struck. And like a lot of other people, my job was eliminated, and found myself out of work and trying to figure out what was next. And interestingly, I ended up starting my own company, and I'm now consulting full-time and working with several different clients. And Sneaker Impact is one of the clients that I spend a lot of my time working on.
Awesome.
That's amazing. You really hit all of the big stops there, right? Nordstrom, Wolverine, Caleres, Vita. I mean, you really touched everybody. So, yeah, that's a good person to have on your team when you're looking to touch every single company and person in the industry. I really enjoyed hearing that story because I have some similar stops as well and some similar contacts as well. So thank you, John, for joining us. Now I'm really excited to introduce Moe as the founder and the CEO of Sneaker Impact. And I'd love to have Moe tell his story and introduce himself.
Again, thank you, Sandi and Andy, for having us. John, it's an honor to have you on our side, man. So, Sandi, in 1967, we're from the other side of the industry. We're from the used and the return industry. My dad started this industry in Beirut, Lebanon in 1967. 1975, he started selling truckloads of used footwear from Brussels. He was there for about, I would say, 10, 15 years, exporting container loads of used and returned damaged footwear to Africa, the Middle East, not mainly Central and South America, just mainly Africa and the Middle East. In the 80s, we moved to Detroit, Michigan. And again, we've seen a huge abundance from the Goodwills, the Salvation Armies, the St. Vincent de Pauls, from their retail stores, right, Sandi? They would sell 10% of what people donated, and they wanted to convert everything else into cash to, finish their missions. And in Detroit, there was nobody else doing this. Like used shoes was not attractive anywhere else in the world. So we were one of the biggest collectors of the used footwear, used clothing industry. After my college days, I moved to West Africa. I went to school in Michigan. At age 22, I moved to West Africa, Ivory Coast, Cotonou, Lomé, Burkina Faso, Senegal. And Sandi, there was a huge need. I was glad I was in the industry I was in. And I seen lots and lots of people walking barefoot. And sneakers in Detroit, it was truckloads that we sold by the pounds to micro-business merchants. But I saw it firsthand, the need of those vehicles. And me and John talk about this all the time. There's a huge need for those vehicles. The high heels, even if they were the Louis Vuittons or the Chanel or the, whatever, all those casuals were not in need. People needed to walk, right? So brands did not really matter. If it's Avia, if it's Brooks, if it's Nike, if it's Adidas, it didn't really matter that much. What mattered is that vehicle, that transportation piece that took them from point A to point B. And the struggle that I faced, I was in Africa for 3 years, and we were working with micro-business merchants firsthand. At age 25, I wanted to reach on my own, moved to Miami, and I started my own show. At 26, I started moving to Haiti. I started traveling to Haiti, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Belize, Chile, Bolivia. And Sandi, the same thing I was asked over and over, where are the sneakers, right? Those sneakers were not, it was a necessity, and it was that vehicle. But it wasn't in that mix, right? It wasn't a mix because the ratio we were given from the people that we worked with, from recyclers to returns to the partners we worked with, the percentage were like really low. And we were asked those questions. I'm like, those are like brand new, casual shoes and Cole Haans, or like we've seen that particular Italian in Salvador, what's the name of that?
Ferragamo, yeah.
Ferragamos. And they're like, no, we want those sneakers. But surprisingly, Sandi, nobody asked about those brands. After the pandemic, I did some more research, and it was astonishing. People were cooking, my neighbors started riding bikes, my brother started jogging. I wanted to learn more because I've never done anything else. I was born in this. And 80% of Americans don't recycle, not because they don't want to, right? I mean, between all the charities out there and everybody who's, helping out, there's only 13% of companies, individuals, nonprofits, for-profits that are collecting. And I believe the public don't recycle, not because they don't want to. There is not an easy, efficient, fun way to do so. And I made it my mission to open an Instagram account. So we started Sneaker Impact, and we opened an Instagram account, Facebook. I was on radio shows in Miami, bringing awareness and spreading the message on the need that it's a necessity, and there's a huge need for those sneakers. And it's been awesome. It's been an awesome journey for the past year and a half. Working with the Miami Marathon, we're making it super easy, Sandy, by placing a prepaid label on a bag and placing it with 20,000 runners, right? Like when runners go, the Miami Marathon gave us the opportunity to place your bags in the goodie bag. Gyms all over the country, we're having those bins, and the bins have a prepaid shipping label, and they're aesthetic, they're cool, and they're shipping us those sneakers. And we have micro business merchants flying in from all over the world, going through them, separating them, and making these really cool, they call them A's and B's and 3's, some that needs to be stitched, some needs to be washed, but everything else goes. So this is my story, and this is how Sneaker Impact started.
Yeah, I have some questions too, because I think, everybody has different models when we're looking at some of this, right? And I think what you just said is really interesting. You have people flying in to look at what they want and what they're getting. And I think there's a problem that we see where people are dumping sometimes in areas without having local capacity to take on that product and issue it out and actually make a living out of that. So maybe you can just describe really quickly the model that you guys have for making sure that, the shoes get distributed to those in need and are building up communities through doing this.
Okay, Andy, great question. And so there's number one, we had the numbers 300 million pairs end up in the landfill, and you corrected me last time. You said, no, it's 400 million pairs. So
yeah, unfortunately,
million pairs end up in the landfill on a yearly basis here at home in America. And so when we collect those sneakers, we have micro business merchants. Look, Andy, a running shoe with a hole, it could be stitched. If it's if it's 2 years old, it's still a perfectly fine vehicle. If it needs to be painted on the side. So what happens when we send this to micro business merchants? My dad and my mom were one of the very first micro business merchants when they started into this industry, and they loved it. So 20% of the sneakers we receive need some love, need to be stitched, need to be glued, need to be washed. But again, what you're doing is you're creating a job, and you're beautifying, what you have. And the more love you give to that sneaker, the better it looks. Brands are cool, but it's not what our micro business merchants look for. After they clean them and they wash them, they would send them to the local market where they're sold either by the pound or for pennies on the dollar. So first of all, you're rerouting sneakers and footwear from landfills to developing countries. You're creating jobs by giving the micro business merchants an opportunity to buy those sneakers and refurbish them and send them to the market and put shoes where they belong, at people's feet. And, again, 1.5 billion individuals, Sandy, are infected with soil-borne diseases because they don't have access to footwear, 24% of the world population. Mm-hmm. And for each sneaker we're collecting, go ahead.
No, keep going.
For each sneaker we collect, we're given $1 to your favorite charity or to the organization.
And I would just add, Sandy, that everything that we collect is moved out of the country. Nothing stays here in the U.S.
That's pretty amazing. I think you touched on a couple of good points there, especially about ease, to make it really easy and simple for people to recycle and to send it in. I'm curious about when you started out, did you have kind of this breakthrough moment where you knew, wow, this is a moment where all of a sudden you're like, it clicked, or had a great big partner early on that really stood by you and that made things a lot easier and the momentum to keep going?
Sandy, my dad is next door here. He's 95 years old. He's my biggest advocate, and he's my role model. I have given up. So the need was always there. I mean, I come from this school of thought, and after college, I studied finance, international business and business administration, but I've never had a day to work. I've always worked in this industry. But what we started here, we needed John because we needed. It's all about helping us tell our story. So John, I mean, look, I had to harass. I called John like 10 times, and John, he goes, "Man, I'm busy. I'm working with 5 other clients." I'm like, "John, this is Mo." So I would call John after 10 calls. He's like, "Man." So John was a big help. We have Frankie Ruiz, the founder of the Miami Marathon. Again, after 10 calls, he gave in. I didn't take. I wanted to tell our story and how it matters. And everybody that joined the team is still on the team. But I'm lucky to have the best team anybody could dream. And we call it the dream team.
I think it matters that you have lived this, right? I think it matters that you've been in the countries. You know the people it's impacting. You know the need. It matters that your family has history in this and started as micro enterprise, so that you have a heart to help those people and make sure they're successful. So I think your story is, in this day and age when there's so much cynicism, I think your story is really compelling, Mo, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. Just with sneakers, right? Changing the world with sneakers, a pair of shoes at a time. I am interested as you guys continue to tell your story and continue to grow. You mentioned the Miami Marathon. You mentioned gyms. I see a lot on LinkedIn where you've got the box where you can see the shoes fill up. I saw Chris Burns do a TikTok video where he's helping promote that to all the sneakerheads out there. As you guys continue to grow your mission and your impact, do you have plans to keep expanding nationally? What are you taking from your learnings to try to keep going? And I'm interested, Mo, because you call people 10 times, man. You're persistent, so you got to be able to get through some of those doors in ways that other people might drop off and not keep making those calls.
Yeah, this is really the hardest part, Andy. Right? This is the hardest part. It's I've been in the footwear industry over 35 years, so I understand how it works. Right. And, there's this cycle of product. And basically what happens is, at the end of its life, the product that doesn't sell through, it gets closed out. Right. And there are people that are interested in purchasing that product, obviously, companies that will do that. There's also product that gets returned. This might be through a website sale. It might be through a retail store sale. This product gets returned and it's slightly worn. It's not resaleable. So that retailer needs to move that product as well. So right now, where we're at in our journey right now, I would tell you is we're doing a great job of collecting gently used sneakers from consumers directly. So we have collection boxes all over the country right now in hundreds of locations in lots of different gyms, national gyms, well-known gyms. We're working with schools, universities. We have a lot of collection boxes out there. Where we're really needing help right now at this point in our journey is we need the newer sneakers. We need the closeouts. We need the consumer returns that are not resaleable. And, the way this industry works typically is a lot of these are purchased by jobbers. I've worked with jobbers in my career, certainly on many brands. But when you get into the end of that life cycle and that product is dated or what have you, the jobbers pick them up. And so typically those are contracts. And so, that's kind of what we're up against right now. We're kind of waiting out some of these contracts so that we can bid. So I guess, what we're really looking for is we're really looking for sneaker brands and sneaker retailers to really work with us, to consider us. We think our mission is a valid one. We think our mission is helping a lot of people around the globe. 70% of people on the globe depend on secondhand footwear. It's a humongous need. And so, we can assure retailers and brands that every pair that we collect is being moved out of the country. It's not going to be resold here in the U.S. It's helping people. It's going where it's really needed. It's getting sneakers on people's feet. Like Mo said, this is their form of transportation. They absolutely need sneakers, and to be able to buy them at a very affordable price. It's a great thing. So that's where we're at right now. We're really, kind of appealing to these brands, to these retailers to take a look at what we're doing and give us an opportunity to work with you.
Yeah. And what's the website people can go to learn more and connect with you guys?
Sneakerimpact.com.
Sneakerimpact.com.
Yeah,
right.
We're on Instagram at sneaker.impact.
That's great. And I will say, if we had this conversation last year around inventory, it would go one way, but at this point, with all the inventory out there, we used to say we were just trying to get the inventory on a boat, and now we've got boatloads of inventory, right? So hopefully people who are listening out there, executives hearing this story and hearing the impact you guys are making around sneakers, will contact you guys and learn more about who you guys are. And on behalf of our team, we appreciate you guys being members of FDRA, part of our community, active community, and strengthening the footwear industry in a number of ways and providing those jobs to people around the world in need and who want to work in sneakers, right? Want to work for footwear and have a passion for it in their own way. So Mo and John, we really appreciate you guys coming on today. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mo.
For retailers, look, if you're a retailer and you're listening, we're making it super easy. We're sending a box with a prepaid shipping label. And we're not looking for those Jordans or the Yeezys or the latest fashion. It's actually given your clients an opportunity to recycle. It's given the 87% an opportunity to upcycle and recycle. So if you want to give your clients that opportunity.
All right, Mo, I think that's a great point too, as we close out about how retailers can work with you guys across the country. All the above, any kind of sneaker is out there, you guys are taking it in and you're making a difference with it. And again, it's sneakerimpact.com. Folks, this is the Shoe and Show, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, trying to strengthen the footwear industry across the entire industry. Doesn't care about what kind of product type, from heels to loafers to sneakers to whatever it is, across every category and for every retailer, brand, and partner that we have in our industry. This show is for you. So be sure to go back. Shoeandshow.com is the website. It has our entire catalog of all these wonderful conversations across the industry. You can go back and learn a ton of stuff from different leaders across our industry, and we encourage you to do that. And grab a friend. Tell them about Shoe and Show. Tell a colleague, either if you're on a Zoom call or in the office with them, increasingly more and more. Let them know about Shoe and Show and how much you've enjoyed these conversations, so we can keep growing our audience and keep having an impact of our own. So again, great conversation today with Sneaker Impact, sneakerimpact.com. Go take a look. And learn more about the great work that they're doing. And folks, as always, stay safe out there. Keep wearing your sunscreen. Back to school's coming up soon. Keep buying shoes. We need to keep this economy moving, folks. So sunscreen and shoes, all right? Until next time, Shoein is out.
Shoein has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.